Welcome to the Screen Rot Podcast, the podcast where we discuss the weirdest and worst content that's been rotting our screens and indeed our minds. I'm here with Jake Farrell.
The boys are back. The Monday Night Football for Bullshit boys are back.
Monday Night Football for Bullshit boys. Yeah, we are back. It's fucking hot.
It's roasting, isn't it?
Yeah, I've mentioned this on the show before. I'm a sun lover, but
Sun lover.
This is pushing it for me, man.
This is pushing it for you. I didn't know there was a weather type that could push it for you.
Well, it depends. It's all context, isn't it? Like I would have it as hot as possible. I can do 40 degrees. I went to Bodrum once in Turkey as a teen. Loved it.
As a teen?
Yeah,
on your own. Come back with a head full of cornrows and 60 braids.
Fake Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
No, we had a funny thing. Our family, we were like, in terms of being like upwardly mobile, we were perfectly kind of plotted on the holiday chart in the sense that we were caravan holidays till I was about 12, 13.
Right.
Then Mallorca.
Yeah. The glory years.
Then we did Gran Canaria once. I ruined it. Played football on the first day and broke my arm.
Oh, no.
So spent the rest of this holiday with this weird... I had to get a cast on my arm and I had to spend the rest of the holiday with this weird like rubber thing on it so I could go in the pool. But I had to like... to swim around like a little shark.
I bet you did not make a drama of that at all.
Yeah. And then by the time I was sort of 17... Well, no, I think Turkey was about 16.
Right.
Bodrum. Back then, I think it was like 200 quid a pop, 200 quid a person, all inclusive for a week.
Yeah.
Incredible.
As much watered down Turkish vodka as you can get your hands on.
Yeah. And also like my parents being like, we thought this was what we wanted, but now we're here and they won't stop playing pitbull around the swimming pool. And you know, the Turkish hotel staff are taking a real interest in our blonde 15-year-old daughter, so we have to be a bit careful with this.
Dad's trying to do a chapter of Grisham. He's having to worry about if he's going to have to call Turkish plod.
Yeah. And then we went to Sharm el Sheikh. I was a bit older. I was about 19. It was sort of one of those where it's like I wouldn't have gone on a family holiday, but it was Sharm el Sheikh.
Sharm el Sheikh, yeah. Get me in there.
And it's like you realise that British people can kind of colonise these places and just destroy them.
Yeah.
I just remember. It was dreadful in so many ways, Sharm el Sheikh. Like, beautiful place. And what's quite interesting is the bits that we can't ruin are, like, the only bits that British tourists can't ruin is the bits that are underwater. So, like, if you, like, the only kind of authentic bit of Egypt you can get is snorkeling. That's the only bit that we haven't got to and ruined. Everything else, like, the shops are selling, like, ham and cheese baguettes. Like, the staff are talking in this weird kind of English twang, offering us hashish and lagers.
Incredible.
But yeah, the only bit that's still Egyptian is going like snorkeling.
The Jacob Hawley travel guide. If you want the authentic taste of Sharm el Sheikh, can I recommend dunking your head in the sea? Because nowhere else is safe.
Don't bring it up. Yeah, and I remember like we got the shits from the food on the first day, so it was just like, you know, you're jumping in and out of this swimming pool without washing your ass properly. It's disgusting.
You've got both arms in rubber casts above it just because you like it now.
Yeah, and the the staff on the hotel, the way they would treat my dad, it was like a carry-on film.
Right.
Where you'd imagine them being these kind of like slick, funny Arab guys that are pulling the rug underneath this big English oaf constantly. Yeah. I remember once at dinner they played this trick on him where they were just constantly like, he'd walk in a room and they'd laugh at him. And he hated it. He'd walk in a room and they'd just laugh at him. They'd be like, ah!
They were bullying him?
Kind of. They were like, he's here. And my dad would just like... And at dinner once, they got him. They'd come over. They'd all come over in a little gang. They'd be like, hey, it's you against her, And he'd be like, and they'd be like, arm around my mum, you know, how many camels for her? And he'd be like, do it with my daughter, and he'd be like, and then at dinner time once, they got him. They were like, put your hands on the table, sir. Put your hands on the table. He's like, all right. Put his hands on the table. They put a glass on one hand, a glass on the other, spoon in his mouth, and he's just stuck. Where he's got glasses on his hands and like spoon in his mouth.
Oh my god!
And they're like balancing plates on his head. My dad's just stuck there like, and then as they're doing that to him, they're like, now we take your daughter for the camels. And you can just see this like look of like Liam Neeson from Taken just go across his face like, I'm gonna have to find out how to kill a man whilst the glass balances on my
God, what happens then when he goes back into work on the Monday after? How was holiday?
Good break, Brian. PTSD. Vietnam flashbacks.
Valium out of his nut.
Yeah, I didn't plan on talking about that. Anyway, this week, a man close to my heart,
Yeah,
an
huge.
influencer. He represents my club, the Wavy Gooners.
The Wavy Mr. Arteta's Wavy Garms Gooners. This is the crystallization of this movement.
This guy represents what was Gooner Kryptonite for a long time.
Yeah,
This guy, many thought he was responsible for the takedown of Le Professeur. I didn't do French GCSE.
No.
Mr. Wenger. But yeah, and I think in terms of being like one of these kind of big influencer, top dog content creators, he was an original.
Big time. He really set the standard. He really was like one of the first people who were like, he became famous through this thing.
Yeah. I feel like it's been going on for like nearly like 15 years.
Yeah,
now.
you feel like it's new because it's the internet, but it's actually like he's like a legacy person now in a way, which is kind of an interesting thing that I guess we can discuss.
Yeah, and there are people that will know this guy who were born after he started making videos, which is nuts. Anyway, this week it is Robbie Lyle, Don Robbie, Arsenal Fan TV.
Big dubs.
Hey!
Would you believe we just spent the last 30 seconds speaking about audio levels? That's great. That's another 10 minutes on Audacity I'll never get back. do the get on this. Come on, I like it when we start with that.
Get on this. Get on this.
Get on this.
Double. Robbie Lyle, Arsenal Fan TV, Don Robbie.
Don Robbie.
I've got an interesting relationship with this guy in the sense that I hated him. Hated him for a long time.
Right. Hated
him more and more and more. As he was kind of instrumental in what felt like the tearing down of Arsene Wenger.
Yes.
I was many of the ones at the Emirates, at the Wavy Garms Emirates, singing Arsenal Fan TV, Get Out My Club. Now, I have a respect for Don Robbie that I would liken to how a mob boss would respect a rival mob boss. You know what I mean? Like if I imagine if you and I were kind of, mooching about on a little, come on. But if we were like in a pub, if you and I were in a pub, and I'm the kind of mob boss of our gang, and he walks in with tie and
what am I? Am I the accountant?
No. You're like
am I second in command?
Sylvia, yeah.
Okay, right.
On the Screen Rock podcast.
On the Screen Rock podcast.
On our mob. And I just imagine like Don Robbie would walk in and I'd be sat there and I'd sort of like be eating my pasta on.
Yeah.
And he'd look at me and you'd be like, "Should we do it, boss?" I go, "Let him eat." Back to my pasta and my red wine. But
on your way out, would you give him a little handshake?
No, I don't know if I have been in similar spaces to Robbie, and I wouldn't shake his hand because I don't like what he's created.
Right. Arsenal Fan TV, you are, in principle, you're against.
The way I think of Robbie and Arsenal Fan TV is the way I think of a parent who's got a dreadful child. When I'm down the park, you see a parent with another kid and the kid's awful. And there's a part of you that's like, I detest you for creating that.
Yes.
But then there's a part of you that realises you can't go back in time and not create it now. You just have to do your best to parent it as it is. And when I see him kind of trying to keep Ty on a tight leash, trying to stop one of the other ones falling off the stairs or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I kind of go, you know what? You probably regret creating this as well. You wish you hadn't had this kid.
Right.
But you've got it now and you're doing your best.
Let's do our best. Yeah, that's really good. And like, should we just a bit of content? I mean, I can't imagine anyone is listening or watching this doesn't know what AFTV is, but just like a 2 lines on. Started this like YouTube channel effectively, started by Robbie Lyle. Stand outside the Emirates after games and chat bollocks about the games.
Film fans chatting. But I mean, he does this really like sanctimonious kind of, I'm just giving a voice to the fans.
Yeah.
The fans need a voice.
As he drives off in his Rolls Royce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kettle hanging out the side.
That's the other thing that's worth saying as well. He has made a mint out of this. And, they've built an empire and he now... I mean, it's almost at a point where you're like, you probably don't need to do this anymore.
No.
either financially or even for the sake of the show. Like the show would probably be fine if you were to kind of sit back and let other people do it.
Yeah,
and
truly be Don Robbie in the shadows.
Yeah, but he loves it.
tip
He loves
puffing.
it. In the same way that Tony will still go out and do a few shootings. He will go out and
Tony Soprano,
Tony
not
Soprano.
Ivan Tony.
Yeah, not been accused of that.
Yeah,
No,
yet.
yeah. So that's where we are. And the first clip was released during lockdown. Again, so much of the content is. And I remember at this point, I hadn't quite started to admire him yet.
Right.
But it was the first inkling I got of like, okay, this is out of control.
Yes.
You've made something mad.
Yes.
And you are doing your best to rein it in a
You're
bit.
trying to put a seatbelt on Frankenstein's monster.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is clip one, and this is it's him chatting to Ty in the wake of a game.
Ty,
right?
how do you describe Ty? Kind of, I don't know.
Be kind.
He's an idiot. He's just an idiot. They're like, a lot of the time with these people that we talk about on here, they're kind of performed idiots.
Yes.
Ty is an idiot. Like, if he wasn't being filmed speaking like this, he'd be driving someone fucking mental in an office. Do you know what I mean? It's like if he wasn't a part of this world, he'd just be the most annoying person in a different world. This is like, there are certain people that have made themselves ready for camera.
Yeah.
He was born like this.
Yeah.
And the camera found him.
Otherwise, he would be like the worst estate agent in London. The most annoying estate agent.
I think he'd work for the NHS or he'd be a teacher, just because it'd only be one of those institutions that find it really difficult to sack people. He wouldn't survive in the private sector.
Yeah,
but
there'd be some poor lady called Lynn trying to manage him in the HR department of a major hospital.
Be
like, Ty, you've sent the email addresses of every doctor in the hospital to the newspaper. That was exactly what we did.
Not about the newspaper. I said about right. It's not about the newspaper. Talk about the NHS and stuff like that. He does something. I mean, a bit of context. This is around the kind of. I think this was spring 21, or maybe spring 2020 actually.
Yeah, it must have been. What was that?
Sorry, I forgot that we kind of do this.
We can do this, right?
This was around spring 2020. Black Lives Matter's kicking off. We're in the middle of lockdown. It's all the kind of key worker stuff. That's why he says the insane thing that he
truly
says.
insane thing he says at the start of this.
Yeah, let's watch this.
Well, Robbie, spin it for me. If you try and...
if I could do a couple of things first. If I can do this and say Black Lives Matter, I say thank you to NHS. Mopo, you are an absolute disgrace. You're a cheat. I hope Brighton get relegated.
Don't blame it on Mope. Don't blame it on...
You're a cheat. You're a disgrace. I hope Brighton get relegated. Mopai is a cheat. Mopai is a cheat. Mopai, you are a cheat. You are a cheat. And like I said again, Mopai, you're a cheat.
No microphone.
Come to our dressing room and say
what do you think he's achieving?
Come to our dressing room with your baby.
This isn't performed.
No, he means that, doesn't he?
And I hope Brighton get relegated.
Hope Brighton get relegated. The worst fate he could wish on someone.
This is the problem.
Now, first of all,
so
in that clip, where are they?
Yes.
It looks like a hostage video. I don't know whether that's a car park.
Yes.
There's sort of like yellow tape on the back walls.
Yeah, it looks like a real Al Qaeda situation, actually.
They've got like a kind of like village hall table with a framed Arsenal shirt on it, and they just stood there like about 3 yards apart from each other. But Ty is obviously horrendous, and Robbie's done a dreadful thing by giving Ty a voice. And this is people debate this nowadays. Should you give a platform to dreadful people?
Yes.
There's an argument to say that it's not done the world or Ty any good to put him in front of a camera as often as Robbie has done.
Yeah.
There is a small bit of dignity, and I do think that he's aware of this, Robbie. The way he stands still and lets him do the... First of all, can I just say thank you to Black Lives Matter and thank you to NHS. Mope, you're a cheat, I hope. Like, the way he stands and lets him do that kind of, that mad spiel at the start, he's letting him make himself look like a mug, and in turn, Robbie looks all right. And
to bring it back to your earlier analogy, it is somewhat parental, isn't it? You know when your kid has I don't have any kids, but if a child has like a bit of a tantrum. If you go running over and try and sort it out, it's just going to make it worse.
They're going to fight and they're going to try and scream even louder.
Just stand still. Ty, what have we said? We've said about this. We're not going to threaten Neil Mope with death. We've said about this. It's so amazing. And I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. I think you're completely right. about like this, like you could see in his eyes, he's thinking, what have I created here? I'm in like a warehouse where it looks like I'm being like held hostage by like ISIS or something, with a like 40-year-old man who's got like Arsenal headphones on as an accessory, and I'm having to like watch him do this mad stuff. The other way of looking at it is he's kind of the owner of the freak show, right? Like he's also like
he's the ringleader in the circus. Yeah.
And it's hard to know really where he falls on that spectrum. Like you say, he does have this spiel where he's like, I give voice to the voiceless. Like he's some kind some kind of civil rights figure or whatever.
Yeah. The fans have been silenced for too long.
Yeah.
It's like,
Have
mate, Ty hasn't been silenced because he's a fan. Ty has been silenced because he can't be trusted to speak in public places.
Ty's not been silent for 1 second of the last 15 years.
But it's an interesting thing with Robbie because he is often the straight man to the madness around him. He is kind of the Tim to the David Brent. And he almost does the kind of knowing look to camera sometimes of like, despite the fact he's created this.
Yeah.
But there's a video I found that we'll show now.
Right.
Don Robbie has always wanted to be the Don. And actually, he used to do, and, we're going to watch this as two white guys sat in a third room in Islington.
Yeah.
And,
And can we just say, big respect to this? And can I just say, actually, Black Lives Matters, big thanks to the NHS, Ty did, if we hadn't said that already. I think actually what he says is Black Lives Matters. He doesn't say Black Lives Matter, which has always confused me as well, because that's like a different thing entirely.
He gets all the grammar incorrect. So I just want to say Black Lives Matter, and thank you to NHS. Mope, you're a disgrace. I hope I get ready. But in this, you see that Robbie's always had an eye for the camera. He's always been a showman, and he didn't used to be the kind of straight man amongst the madness. He used to be the main event.
He used to be the Don Robbie before Don Robbie.
One thing I tell you, I don't know what the ganja thing, when you say cocaine, do not touch it. That is not a black person thing. That is not a nobody thing.
Agree.
Cocaine mashes up your brain. This one you call don't sniff the coke. All the massive who not touch cocaine, put up your hand. All the massive who can't take crack, put up an hand.
Oh, yeah.
All right, come. Lord of His mercy.
He's an incredibly charismatic performer, isn't he?
What you know? So not sniff the coke, don't sniff the. Not sniff the coke, don't sniff it.
Not shared this message with Ty, by the sound.
Yeah.
Not sniff the coke. What you know? Not take one sniff.
What do we think of that?
2 sniff.
Yeah.
3 sniff.
Is that how it goes? I don't watch that.
That's how it goes. But yeah, mate. Again, you go. You weren't always this kind of ringleader of the freak show.
Yeah, right.
You weren't like you're just a talented guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's it's one thing I will say about Arsenal, by the way, is like we get the piss taken out of us now, but we've always been a diverse club.
Right.
Always been a black club.
Yeah.
And I quite like that there's a part of that culture that's kind of ingrained within a lot of Arsenal fans and a lot of like the kind of community, the Gooner community.
Sure. The Wavy Garms Gooners.
The way, yeah. But you look back at that and you almost think it's a bit sad. Do you know what I mean? You look at Robbie there, you think like, who got a record deal and you didn't?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where did the path split? And I don't doubt that he's made an awful lot more money doing what he does now.
Talking rubbish about Arsenal.
Yeah. Than if he was selling dub plates singing like that, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you kind of go... He's one of these people who's just been casting the net out for years.
100%.
Cast it, see what I can catch.
See what I can get.
Is it going to be music? Is it going to be this? He's probably tried stand-up.
Yeah. And it's like, if somehow I have success at age 50 as a novelist, they'll dig this fucking shit up. And they'll be like, look, he was flinging the net out for years.
In 50 years' time, 2 fucking dweebs sat on a bench
Yeah.
with headphones on, going, Jake Farrell, who, he writes some nice stuff now, but did you know he used to sit with this fucking idiot and talk about the crap that he found on the internet?
Now, that would be when we know we've made it, when they're making a podcast, which is analysing our podcast, which is analysing Don Robbie on the telly. It's like he's been, like you say, the casting the net out. I find this and this is a point about the wider like influencer network. Like Jordan Peterson, he was desperate for what he got Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like, oh, look at this. They've just turned the camera on, and suddenly they're like multi like millionaire celebrity.
Mickey Mouse. Would I wear pants or boxers? No. I wear a suit. God damn it.
Jordan Peterson on AFTV would be fantastic.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Oh, Jordan, obviously a tough game away at Brentford today. Never an easy place to come. How did you find the players' mentality today, Jordan?
Look, should Thomas Partey be playing as an inverted fullback? And should he be pressing in the half spaces? No, of course not. Give me a break. Come on.
It's time to go!
Look, the devil's in the bloody detail on this. All right? Little Marty Odegaard should be in those half spaces. It's a joke.
They both got what they wanted, is what I'm saying. Robbie was looking to be a celebrity, and so was Jordan Peterson, and they both got what they wanted. And it's like you say, it's a bit of a shame that it's Robbie not making like socially progressive reggae music. Like that message is quite ahead of its time, isn't it? Like
one toot, toot toot. Here's the thing, though. I have to say, I've had just having a quick kind of think in my head of like, should we go down this?
Usually the answer. By the way, usually the answer to that is no. So just have a think. Just you make the decision.
Black people don't like Coke as much as we do. And
that's probably gonna have to go.
The
we do is definitely gonna have to go.
No. In the sense that like white guys like us, we like Coke.
I don't like Coke.
Okay, well I love Coke, and if there's anyone wants to sponsor the podcast, then, cool, Kid Frankie. But I've had this at parties before. I've got a warehouse up in Tottenham, and we have parties there.
You don't have a warehouse. You rent a barbershop there. It's not the same thing.
And a bar, and we'll have parties up there, and we'll be in the kind of office. It's quite a Sopranos in a way. We'll be in the office doing a.
I didn't think I could be sweating any more than I am sweating now. But you telling stories about I don't even know where this is going. I'm just imagining the amount of hours of editing racking up in my head.
Look, I'll just quickly make the point. I've been in that office before, and we'll rack up, and we'll say to
no. Let's put it this way. There's a. You believe that there is a differential interest in cocaine along ethnic minority lines.
Yes.
Should we leave it at that?
Yeah.
And Robbie is encouraging young black British men and women to not partake in cocaine.
Yeah.
Whereas you made a series for the BBC trying to make everyone take cocaine. That's why you don't like Robbie, because he was messing with your possibility of future arias. Fucking hell, I'm absolutely pouring with sweat. Another mention of the aria? If anyone's playing the drink, anyone's playing the drinking game at home, there's there. Oh my god, I'm sweating so much.
Right, next clip. Next clip is what is next clip?
It's isn't it him trying to like put a leash on another lunatic?
Yeah, but no, so again, so this clip, it's Ty kicking off again, but this is a few years later. This is quite recent, this one, and by this point. If we're talking about his kind of parental responsibilities of the other people on AFTV, by this point he's going, I'm not sitting back anymore. I'm not letting you do what you were doing. We're gonna keep a bit of a tighter leash on this. And he's calling someone out for being an arsehole in a way that I think you have to respect.
You have to respect a bit.
Oh, Fulham fan are giving it. You must have a sad, pathetic life in football. Imagine who would want to be a Fulham fan. Can you imagine? What have you won? Nothing.
Have to behave yourself. Hold on, no, I'm telling you now. You're too arrogant.
I'm not saying
You're very arrogant.
I've
got to tell you once before.
You're arrogant.
I've got to tell you once now. You're a very arrogant football fan.
Old Robbie coming out.
You are. Some football clubs don't have to win nothing. Some football clubs don't have to win nothing. It's football banter.
What? Have a go
right, if you don't like it, don't go to a game.
No, but Robbie, you can't.
Stay at home.
No, Robbie, you
watch it on TV.
No, you can't say that.
Watch it on TV.
No, Robbie, you
turn
can't
the
say
sound
that.
down.
No,
don't go.
No, Robbie, with respect.
Now, if we just pause there, the guy sat in the middle. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
So he's called White Yardie. This is true. He was born in Jamaica. And he kind of speaks in
patois.
Yeah, Jamaican accent. And he's been the subject of controversy before in the sense that
he was actually born in Tottenham.
No. He was born in Jamaica. He
Right.
speaks like that, and people have gone, "Oh, you're kind of, you're culturally appropriating that voice." And he's gone, "No, it's how I grew up speaking." I don't know whether he does cocaine or not.
Yeah, it's true. How could we? How could we know?
Based on what we spoke about before.
Yeah, I mean, he would be a good person to like do some kind of test on, really, or like an experiment. If your theory, your hypothesis is proven to be true, he would be somewhere in the middle. How would we measure that? I don't know. It's difficult to say.
I'll message him. But this clip, he's properly bollocking Ty. He's properly having it out with him. And I think at this point, in the same, if you refer back to the thing down the park where the kids having a tantrum, and the parents just going, well, they've got to cry it out. By this point, you've got real respect for this parent going, we're not having it.
No.
I'm calling you out here. You're arrogant. You're arrogant, Ty.
Once and for all. I quite like that. I like that as a... Yeah. And he's reminding him. And this is the thing, right? Their business model is, as Robbie is kind of saying, football banter.
Yeah.
If Ty starts saying, you can't say that,
you
have to shut them all down.
Yeah, you have to give back your 3-bed, Ty. Whatever your 3-bed in Bounds Green that you spent your AFTV money on, you have to give it back and go back to the office you used to work in, where they were desperate to sack you for 30 years.
Lynn's gonna get the tribunal back on the road. Also, I just think on this and like the state of internet content, we're not the best advert for this because we're recording this on a bench in your spare room. But that set that they're recording this clip on now, that is better than any set that Soccer AM ever had.
Yeah.
That was made by Sky TV.
Arsenal branded sofa, Arsenal branded table, like the graphics behind them. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Faux brick wall as if they're in a Pret.
Yeah,
maybe
they are. Maybe they've just taken over a Pret in Highbury and the staff are fuming.
Well, but look, they're powered by Boohoo Man.
Powered by Boohoo. Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Look at the sponsorship they've got.
Powered by Boohoo Man. That's an incredible piece of advertising bullshit, isn't it? The phrase "powered by." How are Boohoo Man powering that? Apart from also, Ty's hat.
I don't know how much you know about Boohoo Man. None of them are wearing Boohoo Man right now. Yeah. If those guys were wearing Boohoo Man, if they were dressed like James Maddison and Jack Grealish, this would be an incredible piece of content.
Robbie's wearing a knockoff 2-pack t-shirt.
Yeah. It's got that from Roman Road, Mark.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to finish that clip or do you want to move on to the next one? I think this is there's a nice little bit at the end here, I think.
You're doing this too much now. You have to improve against Manchester United. I guess you'll be calling them nobodies and saying they ain't won nothing either.
Well, you
won't be able to spin that, so you'll come with something else.
No, Robbie.
No, I don't want to hear nothing else, right? Let's get back to it, right? Let's get back to it, right? Let's get back to it. Let's talk about somebody else.
I might try and invert a picture right now of Ty's face at the end of that.
Put that there. That's so good. That is really, when your mum and dad, when you do something and your mum and dad be like, "Well, you're tired," and you'd be like, "No, I'm not. I'm not tired."
But they tie you up in a knot. They go, "You are tired. And that's why I did this, and you ruined that. And you know what? You're not going to the park now, and that's the end of it." And that kind
once and for all.
Done.
I'm not sure how much sense this episode has made, but I've had a fantastic time.
It's been a good one, I think. We'll end on this, and I.
This is the midpoint between the two schools of thought about Robbie. I think that we've spoken about.
This is the duality of man. Is something that
you're very interested in.
I consider regularly, and in this clip, you described it well earlier. He has created Frankenstein's monster. Mm-hmm. And you can reprimand the monster. You can tell the monster off. You can tell he's too arrogant.
You can talk to the monster about football banter.
Yeah, but within this, there is quite a dark. We should explain what it's referring to.
Not in too much detail. I think
because we could go to jail. Actually, I think we could get done for defamation of character.
There were legal troubles.
There were legal troubles. One of the Arsenal Fan TV contributors was accused and I think charged with
legal
stuff against one of his ex-partners. And this is how Robbie.
Don Robbie,
in a dignified way, addresses that to the Arsenal Fan TV followers.
January transfer move to Arsenal. Just before we get into the transfers, just got to touch a bit on. You guys would have seen the news yesterday about DT, who used to be, of course, a regular contributor on AFTV. And you would have read about his conviction. And I've got to say that once we got the full details of
what did you do?
What had happened.
Did you speak out? Did you ban him?
We took action straight away to say that we could never, ever have him on the channel again.
At least we can never have him again.
One thing about me, I've always been passionate on this channel about, as well as giving a voice to fans, giving a voice to female fans as well. And as a person who's got, daughters.
Oh, fair play.
It was really, really disappointing and disgusting to read. So, had to take action on it. Let's get into the transfers.
Oh, it's so good.
So, yeah, obviously very disappointed. I've got daughters myself, and it's a horrendous thing that he apparently harassed his ex-wife and made her life a misery. But Yosai Banayoun has been linked on a 6-month loan deal. Does that do enough for our midfield, Gooners?
Oh man, it's just incredible. That as a father of daughters, every time I hear that,
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's not good. It's never good.
One thing about me is I've wanted to give a voice to men's football fans and women sometimes.
Sometimes.
You know,
How could I hate women? My mum's one.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. But again, he's doing his best because like the setup of that thing is like he's having to address like a controversy that like a multinational corporation would have to. But he's just a bloke in his spare bedroom doing this thing, and he's having to say like Rishi Sunak would, or like I don't know, like the head of the BBC
handled
would.
that with more dignity than Matt Hancock handled all of his accusations and indeed the stuff that he did. He handled that with more dignity. He owned it. He told us he has a daughter, so you know can't be a sexist. And then he swiftly got back to the transfer news, which is what we were all there for.
And this is the thing, they've actually been, I mean, as with all of these things, once real life gets in the way, they've actually been involved with kind of quite a few bad things. Like one of the contributors sadly, very sadly passed away. And I remember Claude, God bless him. And
Claude, yeah.
I remember the AFTV Twitter account tweeting out like everyone at the AFTV family just wants to say we're all absolutely devastated to hear of the news of the passing of Claude, our dear friend and contributor. And then I was looking at the feed, and less than 20 minutes later, someone had written, let's have a look at Sander Berg and whether we could sign him from Sheffield United.
I mean, Claude, just to touch on Claude for a minute, I think Claude was a fantastic example of like people get excited, they start these channels, they push it, it suddenly takes off in a way they could never imagine.
Yeah.
And then they can't cope with it.
Right.
And Claude was, he was a troubled guy. He was an Addison Lee driver.
Yeah.
He'd been going to Arsenal for decades.
And suddenly Robbie puts him in front of 1 million people every week.
Yeah, and sometimes he could handle it, sometimes he couldn't. It was just sort of dark what happened with him. He became this kind of Quasimodo figure.
Yeah.
Where it was an easy way for people to kind of project their hatred and their anger about the club onto him, and he couldn't handle it.
And unlike Ty, who's a genuine idiot, as you described earlier.
Ty doesn't know what's going on.
No. Probably quite enjoys most of it, I think.
Ty could have 1,000 Arsenal fans tell him, Arsenal fan TV, get out of my club. And within his skull, there's just a bear batting two cymbals together. That's all that's happening. Whereas Claude was troubled. And Claude, just before he passed, I bumped into Claude. I drove past him. I had my then 3-week-old daughter in the car. And my partner, who had given birth 3 weeks earlier, and she was kind of still a bit shaken up, still hormonal, still kind of trying to keep things very quiet, very still. We don't go out the house too much. No one would knock on the door. It was just nice and gentle, nice and careful. We're just driving down the road. We've done some grocery shopping. I spotted Claude on Seven Sisters Road. I went down the window. I was like, "Oi, Claude, go on, son." And my girl was going, "Baby, no!" Babies are crying. And Claude sort of did this kind of back at us. And a week later, I read that he died.
That's so sad. But at least you had that moment with him.
Yeah, and I something seemed to awaken within him when I shouted that at him. He'd kind of been standing there quite vacantly with a plastic bag on Seven Sisters Road, I guess just waiting for Robbie to call him and tell him where to go for the next video. And something seemed to stir within him when I sort of gave him that, "Go on, Claude."
Yeah.
And then you read a week later that he's dead.
Claude sadly passed away. Reports are that he was recently assaulted by a man with lots of tattoos leaning out the window of an electric vehicle on Seven Sisters Road. He was apparently in fear for his life.
I didn't kill Claude. We're not ending the episode on me killing Claude.
I mean, Robbie's here to stay, I think. This is new media is the media now. Robbie's here to stay.
Yeah, and the monster's been unleashed, and it's out there, and it's wild, and it's dangerous, and, Claude has died. DT's gone to jail.
Yeah.
But at least he's told Ty that he's
lost
too arrogant when he speaks about Fulham not winning things. So maybe he is keeping the monster under control. Maybe he's not.
Who can say?
Like and subscribe. Share with your mates. Ciao, Judge and Adios.